Yo, what to do, YouTube? It is your boy Marcus. We're back with another video. The topic of discussion is T.Y. Hilton. Can he emerge on the scene as being the number one receiver again going into next season? And I don't see a reason why he won't. You know, one of the biggest things going into next season is that he's actually working with his quarterback. Now, last year with Rivers, of course, he didn't have that due to the stage that COVID and all these protocols was in. We didn't have the training, the OTAs, and all these things going into next season. Last year, we didn't have that. So this year, he has that with Carson Wentz. You know, we got the preseason, we got 3 games, so all the chemistries and things can mesh well with Ty going into next season. Now, he is on a 1-year deal. So I think this deal is actually a gift and a curse, because if he doesn't, succeed or doesn't go back to his old realm of where he usually is, maybe he's going to be out the door and going to another team and may not retire as he's going to retire as a Colt, but it won't be in a Colts jersey. Maybe we won't extend him, but with this 1-year deal. So if he does struggle, I don't see us bringing him back after the year. But plus, he's going to go get a bag somewhere else, and he might have more production elsewhere as well. But the gift is, if he does succeed and he does become that number one wide receiver again, I can't see him not going anywhere else after this year. If he does go back to his normal self with a Carson Wentz who will give him the football like Rivers was doing at the end of the year, I can definitely see him extending his contract and retiring as a Colt due to the production he got the year before. I can definitely see that happening. Or maybe, granted, if he does so well, he might not want to play again, and he'll just, get a deal and then retire after that. But I wouldn't be opposed to that either, man. I can definitely see him going off next year, being as though we have all these weapons on the roster: Mac Taylor, Mo Ali Cox, Doyle, Michael Pittman Jr., Pascal, DeMichael Harris if he's on the roster. We got all this potential. We got Michael Strachan if he's on the roster, if he's not in the practice squad. We have so much talent on this roster. And then we got news that Zach Ertz might be on his way out of Philly. He might be getting released. So if we go to get him, that just adds another threat to the roster to go get Ty open. Because usually if the teams are out here double teaming and triple teaming Ty, maybe that's why one of the reasons he couldn't go off last year. He said it himself. Granted, go check it out in the interviews if you don't believe me. But that's from his words, and I do agree if you do watch the games. So they did a pretty good job covering Ty at the beginning of the year. But, he kind of got open at the end where other players started getting involved and the football started getting thrown around more often. So it started flowing more easily for T.Y. Hilton. So if all these things happen next year, I can definitely see him getting some good yards and touchdowns like we're usually seeing from T.Y. Hilton, because Carson Wentz, we know he's going to throw the football. And T.Y. is going to be a premier target. Plus, Michael Pittman Jr. can explode. Carson Wentz loves the tight ends. So I feel like the threats for Doyle and Marley Cox, maybe even Granson, if they get the pressure, T.Y. is going to be open. And it's all going to work out in our favor for T.Y. Hilton. And that's why I think he can definitely explode next year, going back to being that number one receiver. I just can't wait for the year to happen, because T.Y. Hilton, we all are looking up for him. We couldn't wait for him to come back to Indianapolis because we almost lost him to Baltimore. We can't wait to see him back on the field in the Colts jersey. I know week 1 is going to be electric when T.Y. hits the field. I know it's going to be electric. The Bring T.Y. home statement, all these things, the fans love him so much. Even Irsay went out of his way and got him to get a deal, a 1-year deal to come back to Indianapolis. So him to come back for week 1, I feel like he's going to put on a show in the middle of the season. I feel like he's going to go back to his normal self. Now, of course, maybe he was battling injuries and everything, but like I said, I don't think the system with Rivers was comfortable enough for him to actually trust Ty, but he started trusting him at the end of the year, and Ty started getting his numbers. So I think with Wentz, I think he's going to give the ball to Ty. Hopefully teams aren't studying this already, but I think he's going to give the ball to Ty a little bit more than what Rivers was doing. Plus, Rivers' throwing motion was hard to communicate with the receivers because of the way he threw the football. So I think that was a little bit more difficult. Carson Wentz has a better form, is more pretty. So I feel like it'll be easier for Ty to get adjusted to the quarterback, mesh well with the chemistry, and actually go back to his normal self. And these things all play a big role. Now, would I say week 1, will he come out and explode off the map? No. I'll say give him maybe a few weeks, maybe week 4 or 5, after we play these tough teams out. Maybe week 5 he'll go out and have his game. Week 1 would be a blessing. Week 1 would be a blessing if he goes off. Trust me, it'll be a blessing if he goes off week 1. But I think around maybe week 5 we start seeing the team get more adjusted and comfortable, because I don't expect the team to go out week 1 be lights out blazing. It might be a defensive showout. It might not even be high scoring for week 1. It won't. We play the Seahawks. I don't think it'll be a high scoring game. It might be a low scoring game due to everyone getting their chemistries right. Russell Wilson and them, the offensive line, they lost a lot of pieces too. So I feel like it'll probably be a defensive showout week 1. Now, I'm not opposed to that either, because, I love the defense, and defense wins championships. So if the defense goes out there and balls, I won't be opposed to that. But the offense, I think, is going to take time for them to gel and to get adjusted. And then when Carson Wentz hits his stride in the middle of the year and gets back to his normal self, then we'll start the Carson train, and we'll all be comfortable. But I think for the momentum of the team, I think usually the defense, it's always a flip flop when it comes to us, because the defense sometimes, when the defense is cooking, the offense is off, and when the offense is cooking, the defense is off. So I'm pretty sure we're going to have this scenario due to us having the same defensive coordinator. Now, we have a new offensive coordinator, so it might take time for us to get used to his scheme and everything too. But, I think it's going to flip-flop. We're going to have the same flip-flop effect we usually have with the offense and defense. I never really noticed when we had both connecting at the same time. Maybe that Lions game, I would say, but we almost, I don't know. But I think that was the only game I could really see us having both sides of the field actually producing. But other than that, maybe you guys can, clarify another game where you've seen both sides of the field meshing at the same time. But in my opinion, last year, the offense and defense wasn't on the same page, chemistry, not chemistry-wise, but having the same effect in the same game. So next year, I'll probably think the same thing. Like I said, I can see T.Y. exploding off the map maybe around week 5. I don't know if it's going to be a week 1 thing, which would be nice, but I could see maybe a Mo Alley-Cox game for the Seahawks. They got Bobby Wagner and them out there, but I think Mo Alley-Cox or a guy like Pascal, who's pretty much an under the radar wide receiver, one of those guys can explode against the Seahawks team, because their defense is iffy. It is iffy, but their offense is definitely one of the offenses in the NFL that can put up some points. We know that, but they don't have an offensive line. So going in that game, I would love to see how it's going to work out with Russell Wilson and them, because, Russell Wilson last year started out very nice, but, at the end, defenses started figuring out the system, and, they went on that big slump, and he had all those interceptions at the end of the year because of no protection. But like I said, I think T.Y. is going to have a nice year next year. I think he's going to reemerge as the number 1 wide receiver for the Colts. And we might see him back on the receiving yards list like he usually is. But I'm not saying he's going to have the most, because Stephon Diggs is a beast. But I think he can be top 10 in receiving yards, if anything. I think he can be top 10. But you guys let me know your thoughts on T.Y. Hilton. Can he go back to his normal self next year, and explain why? But until next time, this is Marcus, and you've been Culture Shock.